Shalom to my brothers and sisters in the body of Yahushua HaMashiach, who is the Messiah. And shalom, shalom to the scattered Hebrew Israelites who are throughout the four corners of the earth. Today, I bring you an exciting word, and this word is part 2. And I want to let you know up front, if you have not watched part 1, which is listed in the video box and in the upper right hand corner of this video, you need to watch that video first because you will not understand part 2, because the answer will not be given in part 2. Okay? But however, I know some will not listen and still watch part 2. So you do what you think is best. Now, the title of this word today is Israelites, the seventh day, the Sabbath confirmed, part 2, the history of the fourth beast calendar. Daniel chapter 7, verse 23 to 25. Now, those who have watched part 1, you shall be rewarded greatly today, because today I bring you a new piece of evidence that I don't think most had talked about it or went over. Now, this new piece of evidence shall be discussed more towards the end of the video. However, I do want to read a couple articles to you to give you more evidence to confirm on part 1. Now, if you are a Gentile watching this video, this message is also for you. The reason why I have addressed to the Israelites, because they are still under the curse of Yahuwah that pertains to his seventh day, which is the Sabbath day. So again, the word is the seventh day, the Sabbath, confirmed, part 2, the history of the fourth beast calendar. Daniel chapter 7, verse 23 to 25. Let us begin. Now, those who have not watched the video about Yahuwah prophetic message, please watch those 2 videos in that playlist. The first message is addressed to the Hebrew Israelites, and the second message is addressed to the Gentiles. And please share those videos with everyone. Okay? Now for the opening verse. Because when you begin to study the history of the heathen calendars, you begin to learn that they do not align with Genesis chapter 1, verse 14. So let us read that verse first. Genesis chapter 1, verse 14 of the King James 1611 Holy Bible. And Yahuwah said, "Let there be lights in the firmament of the heaven to divide the day from the night, and let them be for signs and for seasons and for days and years." Take this time now to pause your screen to meditate on that verse, because Yahuwah is giving us a big clue about his calendar. Okay? Now, the first article we're going to read is about the Roman calendar. In part 1 gave us more detailed about the Julian calendar and the Roman calendar, but we need to also learn about part 1 gave us more information about the Julian calendar and the Gregorian calendar. Now we're going to learn about the ancient Roman calendar that was before the Julian calendar. Okay? So now let's go to that article first. Now, this article comes from diamonddate.com, and the link will be in the video description box so you can have to read. The title of it is The Roman Calendar. The ancient Roman calendar, or pre-Julian calendar, is believed to have been a lunar calendar. The calendar originally consists of hollow months that were 29 days, or 4 months that had 30 days. So as we are reading into this introduction, it's already confirmed to us that they have seen the ancient Roman calendar as a lunar calendar. Now, I know when you look to your right, you're going to see lunar or lunar solar, but as we read this article, you can begin to understand why they're leaning more to a lunar calendar. Okay? And remember, this calendar was before the Julian calendar. So let us proceed. King Romulus. The original Roman calendar was said to be invented by Romulus, the first king of Rome, around 753 BCE. Now, this is something you want to highlight and write down. So the first ancient Roman calendar was invented by Romulus. Now, those who don't know who Romulus is, he is the first king of Rome, but also he is a descendant of Esau. Yes, he is an Edomite. And he did have a twin brother named Remus, Remus. Look up the history about them two brothers. For you will learn that their birth was very special, but also in the historical records, as well as in the hidden books, you will learn that Romulus, excuse my tongue, is a descendant of Esau. And Esau is the forefather of the Edomites as well as the Idumeans. Okay, but let us continue. The calendar starts the year in March, Martius, and consists of 10 months with 6 months of 30 days and 4 months of 31 days. The winter season was not assigned to any month, so the calendar year only lasted for 304 days, with 61 days unaccounted for in the winter. So in the beginning, the calendar was only for 10 months, okay? And of those 10 months, you have 6 months that was 30 days and 4 months that was 31 days, okay? Also, they did not account for the winter season, so there was 61 days not accounted for. But let us continue. Calendar of Romulus. As you can see here, pause your screen and you can see what month was 30 days and what month was 31 days. But notice that the beginning of their calendar year started with the month March and ended with the month December. Now you can understand why December means 10, why November means 9, October means 8, September means 7, and so forth. Okay? Let us continue to read. Calids, nuns, and Eised. I hope I pronounced that word correctly. If not, I do apologize. Unlike the Julian and Gregorian calendars, the Roman calendar had a different system for numbering the days of the month. The months were divided into day markets that fell at the start of the month, the 15th or 7th day, and in the middle of the month. These three markers were called Calids, Nuns, and Ides. Let me make sure I pronounce that correctly. Ides. If I didn't, forgive me. Calids, also known as Calidate or Calids, signified the start of the new moon cycle and was always the first day of the month. It is derived from the Greek word, and I cannot pronounce that word, so pause your screen for it. And that Greek word means to announce the days of the full and new moon. Okay? So Cadid is to let us know when the month began. All right? First day in the month. So nuns, also known as Nundinae, was known to be the days of the half moon, which usually occur 8 days before Ides. Okay? So nuns is basically what nun means. It is it's telling us within 8 days. That's when we have a half moon. And these 8 days occur before Ides. Okay. Now Ides occur on the 15th day of March, May, July, and October. And on the 13th day of the other months. They are thought to have been the days of the full moon. Okay. But from part 1, you will learn that they was not on the right track. But let us continue to read. Each day was referred to by how many days it fell before the Calids, Nones, and Ides. For example, March 11th would be known as 5 Ides to the Romans because it is 4 days before the Ided of March, which is March the 15th. So in other words, when you have March the 11th, they would classify March 11th as 5 Ides because it was 4 days before March the 15th. because when you add 4 to 11, you get what? 15. Now, when you count from 11 to 15, you get a total of 5 numbers. Let's do it now on your hand. You got 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. So on your hand, you should be holding up 5 fingers. That's how they got 5 idads. Okay? Now let's continue to read. Now, the reason why the Romans was having a hard time keeping their calendar in sync with the heavens was because they was a heathen nation. Again, you're going to have to read the King James 1611 Bible from the beginning of the book to the end of the book, including the Apocrypha, to understand why these heathen nations did not have the whole understanding of the heavens. Therefore, this give us the reason why their calendars was incorrect. Okay, even now to this day, they're still running into errors with their calendars. Something very important for you to know. However, Israel, which are the Hebrew Israelites, was the chosen nation of the earth to receive the wisdom and the understanding of Yahuwah, wisdom and knowledge. Okay? That's something that you really need to think about and meditate on, because as we go further in part 2, you will see the confirmation of what I'm telling you. But let us continue to read. Add in January and February. The 304-day Roman calendar didn't work for long because it didn't align with the seasons. Now, when you see that, when they say don't align with the seasons, they're talking about with the heavens. It didn't line up with the heavens, nor with the seasons that came upon the earth, such as spring, summer, fall, and winter. Let us continue. King number Pompilius reformed the calendar around 700 BCE by adding the months of January, known as I hope I pronounced this correctly, Iuarius, and February, also pronounced as Februaris. Forgive my tongue. To the original 10 months, which increased the years linked to 354 or 355 days. So as we can see now, in the year of 700 BCE, under King Numa Pompilius, okay, he added 2 more months. This is how they got 12 months into their calendar, and it no longer was consisted of 304 days. It became 354 or 355 days. Again, this was based on the moon. Let us continue to read. The addition of January and February meant that some of the months' names no longer agreed with their position in the calendar. As we can see, September through December, you go back and look at those months. Okay. The month Quintilis was renamed July in honor of Julius Caesar in 44 BCE. And Sextilis was renamed August in honor of Augusta in 8 BC. So we can see when you go back to this list, they replaced 2 of the calendar names, which is number 5 and number 6. And one was named July and the other was named August. Okay, take this time now to pause the screen to look at that. And let us go back to that paragraph so you can take your time and pause your screen to look at that. So one change was done in 44 BCE to honor Julius Caesar, and the second change was done in 8 BCE to honor Augustus. Okay. The intercalary month. The Roman calendar was still flawed after adding January and February, as well as the days and months need to keep the calendar in line with the season. So again, they were having problems, my brothers and sisters. Okay. Their calendar was not in line with the heavens. In other words, it was not in line with the seasons. Many attempts were made to align the calendar with the seasons, but all failed. An extra month was added to the calendar in some years to make up for the lack of days in a year. The insertion of the intercalary month was made by the Pontifex Maximus, the high priest of the College of Pontiffs in ancient Rome. Now you will learn from further readings that Pontifex Maximus is a title, okay? Those who have that title has the power to make changes to their calendar, okay? Let us continue to read. However, this system was flawed because the Roman calendar year defined the term of office of elected official. Thus, a Pontifex Maximus could control the length of the year depending on their political agenda. So what this base is telling us too, that their calendar was also affected by political reasons. So some of the changes to the calendar was done by some of their government officials as well. Let us continue to read. When Julius Caesar became Pontifex Maximus, he reformed the calendar by getting rid of the intercalary months. Okay, so he did away with that. The Julian calendar was created, then completed during his successor, Augustus' reign. So it was created in the time of Julius Caesar, but the calendar was completed during Augustus' reign. Okay. Now, I want you to take this time to pause the screen to look at the Roman calendar to compare when they added the extra month, to compare the number of days, especially when you look at the month of February. You see lesser days of February in the leap year, and that was the same leap year when they added in the extra month. You see Intercalarius, and that month had 27 or 28 days. So take this time now to pause your screen. Now that we got a little more understanding about the original Roman calendar, let us go back to this tab because I want you to take a look. So from part 1, we already got the dates pertaining to the Julian calendar and to the Gregorian calendar. So as you can see, the the Roman calendar was created in 753 BCE. It originally started with 10 months, but later on it was changed to 12 months in 700 BCE. And remember, BCE is dealing with before Common Era, and you're counting downward, okay? So then when Julius Caesar became what they call it, Pontifex Maximus, when he assumed that title, he created the Julian calendar. And we already know that calendar is based on the sun and it's on 12 months. However, most people are not aware that the Julian calendar first month was March and the last month was February, something that many don't know. Okay, so he created that calendar in 45 BCE. Okay, now we are aware what Constantine did, not so much as changing the calendar. Constantine changed the days of the calendar. Okay, and we'll talk more about that into this video. And we know he did it around the time of 321. And I have to make a correction. That should be AD. Okay. So AD is coming after BCE. That means before Common Era. Okay. Then that brings us now to the Gregorian calendar. That's the calendar we are using today because that's what the heathens taught us. Okay. It was created and started in 1582, but it took more than 300 years for the rest of the countries to use this calendar. Okay. So the last country that came in, if I read the article correctly, it was around 1927 AD. So the Gregorian calendar has not existed that long, as we already aware. Now, when you looking at the heathens' history books, what I found is that if you can go back and find some of the old books, because today, they are becoming more aware that we are waking up. So they are really trying to hide a lot of truth from us. But if you go in some of the old ancient historical books, you can find a lot of hidden gems that they did not covered. Okay. And one of the hidden gems is this Encyclopaedia Britannica. And I'm going to put the link of this in the video description box. But we're going to read how they came about in developing their calendar and also how they came about in developing their week. Okay. Now, before we go there, I need to point this out to you because some names going to be mentioned in the article. Okay. Actually in the encyclopedia. One of the names that will be mentioned is Theodosius the Great. Now, he was a Roman emperor from 379 AD to 395 AD. Okay. And basically what the article is going to mention some things about him. So what I'm letting you know that sometimes when you go from different sources, they may have different dates on when certain changes occur with the Julian calendar as regarding to the week. And we'll talk more about that when we get to the Encyclopaedia Britannica. That is something I want to make you aware. But I will put the link about him in the video description box so you can compare. Then the next person that we'll talk more about later on in this video is about Constantine. Now, Constantine was also a Roman emperor from 306 AD to 337 AD. Okay, so it's very important that we have these dates in our mind and know, who reigned at what time and what happened during that time, because there was different stages to classify the Roman Empire. Okay. And the last name that's going to be mentioned is Dio Cassius. Okay. Now, this is why it's so important to know about him, because Dio Cassius was a Roman statesman, and also he was an historian of Greek origin. Okay. And according to Wikipedia, he published 80 volumes of history on ancient Rome, beginning with the arrival of that A word in Italy. The volumes documented the subsequent following of Rome, 753 BC, the formation of the Republic, which started in 509 BC, and the creation of the Empire, which started in 31 BC, up until 229 AD. So, he was a very important historian that made a lot of that recorded a lot of information that pertains to the Roman Empire. Okay. It also goes on to say that written in ancient Greek over 22 years, Dio's work covers approximately 1,000 years of history. Many of his 80 books have survived intact or as fragments, providing modern scholars with a detailed perspective on Roman history. Okay, so now let us go to the Encyclopaedia Britannica to get more insight about the calendar and the week. Now, you will have access to this. The link will be in the video description box. It's under the title calendar on page 987, and we have to scroll down. Okay. Went down just a little bit too far. So it starts at the bottom right-hand edge on the word calendar. All right. Now, some of the information may sound a little redundant, but I want to read it word for word so you can see the whole picture. Calendar, so called from the Roman calids or cales, a method of distributing time into certain periods, adapted to the purpose of civil life as hours, days, weeks, months, years, etc. Of all the periods marked out by the motions of the celestial bodies, the most conspicuous and the most intimately connected with the intimately connected with the affairs of mankind are the solar day, which is distinguished by the diurnal revolution of the earth and the alternation of light and darkness, and the solar year, which completes the circle of the seasons. Now, most of you are aware that the heathens center everything around the sun, okay? But when we come in the whole volume of the book, we are not to do that. For if you read Genesis chapter 1, verse 14, you will understand what makes up Yahuwah's calendar, okay? But let us continue. Let me scroll down a little bit more. So now we're going to page 988, okay? And I'm going to start with the sentence that begins with but, right here where my cursor is. But in the earlier ages of the world, when mankind was chiefly engaged in rural occupations, the phases of the moon must have been objects of great attention and interest. Hence, the month and the practice adopted by many nations of reckoning time by the motions of the moon. as well as the still more general practice of combining lunar with solar periods. The solar day, the solar year, and the lunar month or lunation may therefore be called the natural divisions of time. All others, as the hour, the week, and the civil month, though of the most ancient and general use, are only arbitrary and conventional. Okay? Now we're going to skip down to read a part that talks about the week. This is very important so we can get a more understanding. Week. The week is a period of 7 days having no reference whatever to the celestial motions. A circumstance to which it owes is unalterable uniformity. So in that first sentence is just letting you know that they are saying to you that the week has no correlation to the heavens. Okay. And as we proceed further in this video, you will get the understanding on why they say that. Remember, this coming from the Romans. And when you study all three calendars, the Roman, the Julian, and the Gregorian, you will understand why they are saying that. Okay. But let us continue. Although it did not enter into the calendar of the Greeks and was not introduced at Rome till after the reign of Theodosius, it has been employed from the time immemorial in almost all Eastern countries, and as it forms neither an aliquot part of the year nor of the lunar month, those who reject the Mosaic recital will be at a loss. On Del Lambri remarks to assign it to an to assign it to an orange to an origin having much semblance of probability. Excuse my tongue and I apologize. So again, what they're saying about the week, that the week was not introduced at Rome till after the reign of Theodosius. Now, according to different sources you will read, you will learn that actually the week coexists with another method that the Romans was using, and we'll talk more about that. And excuse my phone, okay? Let us continue. It might have been suggested by the phases of the moon or by the number of planets known in ancient times, an origin which is rendered more probable from the names universally given to the different days of which it is composed. Okay? So what they're saying here, what they thinking that the week may have been suggested by the phases of the moon or by the numbers of the planets known in ancient times. Okay? But let us continue. In the Egyptian astronomy, the order of the planets beginning with the most remote is Saturn, Jupiter, Mars, the Sun, Venus, Mercury, the Moon. Now, the day being divided into 24 hours, each hour was consecrated to a particular planet, namely one to Saturn, the following to Jupiter, the third to Mars, and so on according to the above order. And the day received the name of the planet which presided over its first hour. So what they're doing now, they're giving you the historical record of how the week was established with the names of the days of the week. So that's what they're giving to you. But when we read the next sentence, it was more specific details. Okay, but let us scroll down just a little bit more. Let me see where I'm at. Sorry about that. Okay. Where you see my cursor at, that's what I'm going to start reading. If then the first hour of a day was consecrated to Saturn, the planet will also have the 8th, the 15th, and the 22nd hour. The 23rd will fall to Jupiter, and the 24th to Mars, and the 25th or the first hour of the second day will belong to the sun. So what it's saying that the first hour of the day will fall to Saturn. Okay? But let me continue reading. I don't want to give you the whole conclusion yet. In the like manner, the first hour of the third day will fall to the moon, the first of the fourth day to Mars, and the fifth to Mercury, of the sixth to Jupiter, and of the seventh to Venus. The cycle being completed, the first hour of the eighth day will return to Saturn, and all the others succeeded in the same order. So this is very important. What they're doing now, they're giving you the heathens' format of how they came about establishing the week and the name of and the name of the days of the week. And what they did was that whatever planet that appeared in the heaven in the first hour of the day, that was the name of the day of the week. So the first planet that appeared was Saturn, Saturn. The second one, let me find where it starts. I want to make sure I give you the correct arrangement. The second one was Sunday. Okay. The third day was the moon. The fourth day was Mars. The fifth day was Mercury. And the seventh day was Venus. Okay. That is the format. Let us continue. According to Cassius, the Egyptian week commenced with Saturday. So according to this ancient historian that I already told you about, who wrote a lot about the Roman history, Cassius, he said the Egyptians began their week with Saturday. That was the first day of the week for them. Okay. Now Saturday is also, in other words, the planet that identified the day for Saturday was Saturn, Satur. Okay. Let us continue to read. I'm starting at the top on the right-hand side. On their flight from Egypt, the Jews, from the hatred to their ancient oppressors, made Saturday the last day of the week. Now, here I want you to really think about the last sentence, and we'll talk more about that. Okay. Again, remember, we are reading the Gentile books. Okay. Now, take this time to pause your screen because it's giving you the history of the name of the days of the week. So I'm going to read this paragraph here. The English name of the days are derived from the Saxon. The ancient Saxon has borrowed a week from some Eastern nation and substituted the names of their own divinities for those of the gods of Greece. In legislative and justiciary acts, the Latin names are still remain. Now, the reason why you want to pay attention to, because one of the Latin names that is in your Bibles pertain to Sunday. Okay. Now, the Latin name I'm talking about that pertain to Sunday is not listed in this list, but we'll talk more about that in the video. So take this time now to pause your screen. So you can see here the Latin name for Sunday, the English name, which is Sunday, and the Saturn name, which is sun with apostrophe S and day. So take this time now to pause your screen. All right. Now let us go back to this tab. Now remember that line I told you to keep in the back of your mind. Okay. I want to read this to you. You see how Edom inserted a lie. Now I'm talking about the paragraph that I read to you pertaining to the week. You see how Edom inserted a lie. Can you identify the lie? Saturn day, known as Saturday, was the first day of the week, and they based the days of the week by the first hour of the planet appearing in a 24-hour period for each day, which gave them this order. Saturn was first, Sun was second, Moon was third, Mars was the fourth, Mercury was the fifth, Jupiter the sixth, and Venus the seventh. Now the Roman calendar followed the moon, And the Julian and Gregorian calendar only follow the sun. But Yahuwah's calendar consists of the moon, the sun, and the stars, including Mazzaroth. Remember, my brothers and sisters, Genesis chapter 1, verse 14. Also, let me blow this up because I really want you to see this. Okay. Now, looking at the list of the 7-day planetary week, we also have the spelling of those dates in Latin. Okay. And remember, I told you that we're going to see a Latin word that is in your King James 16 Bible. So I wanted you to keep this in the back of your mind. The Latin word for Sunday is Dominica. Dominica. Keep that word in the back of your mind because you're going to see it again in this video because that word can be found in your King James 1611 Bible. And I know what you're thinking. Where is Sister Yita going with this? But bear with me, okay? I don't want to release it yet until at the correct time in the video. But take this time now to pause the screen to review these 7 planet names in Latin, okay? Now, we're also going to look at this as well. A lot of people are not aware of this. In our Bibles, people are not aware that the word Saturn has a correlation to a day of devil worship. Okay. And the word that I'm talking about that's in the Bible that relates to Saturn, when you do more study, is called Satyr. Satyr. In the Strong Concordance, you can find on the HA 163, and it means a he-goat or devil. You can find this word for as like the Hebrew in Leviticus chapter 17, verse 7, Isaiah chapter 13, verse 21, and chapter 34, verse 4, 2 Chronicles chapter 11, verse 15. Now, when you do a further study from reading the King James 1611 Bible, you will learn that the other nations was given to worship the sun, the moon, the stars, and all the hosts of the heavens. But Israel belonged to Yahuwah and was commanded to only to worship him. For proof of this, you need to read Deuteronomy chapter 4, verse 19 to 20, and Exodus chapter 19, verse 5 to 6, and Ben Sirah of the Apocrypha known as the Ecclesiasticus. You need to read chapter 17, verse 4. Okay? Because Yahuwah is the one that gave the nation of Israel the understanding of his calendar. He also gave them the understanding and the wisdom of the heavens. Okay? This is something that's very important for you to know. And I'm aware in the beginning of the video, I mentioned that the nation of Israel is under a curse. But now that we are awakening to who we are, Yahuwah is allowing some of us to receive the whole truth about his calendar. Okay? But let us continue. Now, I went to another site, and it was in the Wikipedia, and the title of the article was The Julian Calendar. And I want to read this paragraph to you because this will also give us more confirmation that during the Julian calendar period time when they were using it, they did use 2 weekly formats. But let us read this paragraph first. The effect of the bisextile day on the non-diurnal cycle is not discussed in the sources. According to Dio Cassius, a leap day was inserted in 41 BC to ensure that the market day of 40 BC did not fall on January the 1st, which implies that the old 8-day cycle was not immediately affected by the Julian reform. In other words, there was times they did not follow the 8-day cycle rules, my people. And we'll talk more about that because, they did allow some changes depending on certain days that will appear in the year. Okay, but we'll talk more about that. However, he also reports that in 44 AD and on some previous occasions, the market day was changed to avoid a conflict with a religious festival. This may indicate that a single Nundinae letter was assigned to both halves of the 48-hour bisexual day by this time, so that the Regifungium and the market day might fall on the same date, but on different days. And I have another paragraph I'm going to read for you that will explain more about this paragraph. I just want you to listen. So what he again is saying that during certain years, they do change the cycle of the 8 day and add an extra day for the market day. Okay, let us continue to read. In any case, the 8 day nundinal cycle began to be displaced by the 7 day week in the 1st century AD, and dimanical letters began to appear alongside nundinal letters in the fasting. Now, this last sentence, you definitely want to highlight if you when you get access to that site. And excuse my phone again, I do apologize. Okay. Let me talk about this first part first. Now, this is one sense to confirm to you that even when Julian made changes to the calendar, there was a period of time they continued to use the 8 day cycle. All right, along with the 7 day week. And in this sentence here, it says that the 8 day cycle will start to be displaced with the 7 day week in the 1st century AD. Now, 1st century AD is talking from 1 AD to 100 AD. Okay. So that's when it started, slowly transitioning. But when you read other sources, you can come to find out that they still use both weekly format, the 8 day cycle and the 7 day cycle. And also keep in mind, they did make adjustments in their own calendar to add an extra day if they need to. Okay. Now, here's the word that I told you to remember or put back in your mind. Dimanical letters. This is in your King James 1611 Bible, and you can find it under your King James 1611 Almanac. And we're going to talk more about that as we go further down in this video. But if you look at the word dealing with Domini, if you look up part of that word, you're going to learn that it's Latin still pertaining to Sunday. So we'll talk more about the dimaniacal letters. Okay. Now, again, this paragraph can be found in the Wikipedia with the article title Julian Calendar under Intercalations. Okay. Now we're going to look at the continuous week. Now I'm going to take you to another site now because we got to read everything on this site. And I say everything, I'm talking about all the words that pertain to this topic of nundinal cycle. Okay. And then we're going to come back and break down each paragraph so you can understand what that paragraph is telling you. Because once you start understanding the nundinal cycle, then you begin to understand the week, how the heathens established their week, which is very important because we're trying to get the understanding what is the 7th day. Okay. That's what we're trying to do, get the understanding. So to get the understanding of that, you're going to have to study the history of the ancient Roman calendar first, dealing with the nundinal cycle, because they're going to use that same pattern in the Julian calendar. Okay. And that same pattern in the Julian calendar was carried over in the Gregorian calendar. Now let us read. The Roman Republic, like the Etruscans, used a market week of 8 days, marked as A to H in the calendar. So they had a market week of 8 days, and each day was marked with a letter from A to H. Okay? When you think of an alphabet, is not A the first letter and H the eighth letter in our alphabet? Let's continue. A market day was held on the eighth day. For the Romans who count inclusively, this was every ninth day, hence the market became called Nundinae, and the market cycle is known as the Nundinae cycle. Now I'm going to break that down after we read this whole paragraph so you can understand what that means. Since the length of the year was not a multiple of 8 days, the letter of the market day, known as Nundinae letter, changed every year. For example, if the letter for the market days in some year was A and the year was 355 days long, then the letter for the next year will be F. Okay? So now let us break down that paragraph. So what we just learned, that the Romans used the same method like the Etruscans. Okay? So they used an 8-day week cycle. And they didn't number their day. They number it by a letter from A to H. Okay? And it starts all over again. Now, to understand why every ninth day is the market day, okay, here's the reason why, and you really need to pay attention. Right here where my cursor is. For the Romans, the market day was held on, we know it was the ninth day. This is how they got it. When you add 8 days to 1, you get the ninth day. And this is the reason why. Let's say it's the beginning of the year. And then market day starts with A. All right. So A is day 1. All right. So then the weekend, which is with the letter H, which is day 8. So the next market day will fall on an A day. The next market day will fall on the letter A, and that letter A would be 9. Okay? Let me say this over again so you can understand when you read this article. When it said it's held on the 8th day, it is correct. Okay? Because for the Romans, what they are doing is this. The day that they have labeled as letter A is day 1 for them. All right? So the next day that has the letter A is day 9. And when you add 8 to 1, you get what? 9. So this is why the ninth day is the market day for them. All right? We'll talk more about this. But I want you to understand that simple formula that they are doing. But let us continue. We also learn in this paragraph that the market is called Nundinae. Okay? And we also learned that the market cycle is called Nundinae cycle. All right? Now, a year is not a multiple of 8 days. What it means is that you can't divide a year by 8 evenly. Okay? Remember our multiplication, like 8 times 1 is 8, 8 times 2 is 16, and so forth. So at the end of the year, for example, their total number of days cannot be divided by 8 evenly. Okay? So this is why from year to year, their market day would change. In other words, the letter for the market day would change from year to year. I will test you right now. What is the letter called in their calendar format? The letter is called what? Let me go up here. So can I find it for you? Right here. It is called the Nundinae letter. Okay? And because their year totals cannot be divided by 8 evenly, therefore, their market day letter, which is the Nundinae letter, will change from year to year. And here's an example. In some years, their market letter would be A. and the year was 355 days. Therefore, the letter for the next year will fall on F for their market day. Because when you take 355 days divided by 8, it does not divide evenly. Okay? You do the math. It is not an even number. So this is why the letter for that market day would change. Now let us read the second paragraph. The Nundinae cycle was fundamental rhythm of daily life, and the market day was the day that country people would come to the city. For this reason, a law was passed in 287 BC, the Lex Hortensia, that forbade the holding of meetings of the comitia, for example, to hold elections on market days, but permit the holding of legal actions. In the late Republic, a superstition arose that it was unlucky to start the year with a market day. For example, for the market day to fall on January the 1st with the letter A, and the pontiffs who regulate the calendar took steps to avoid it. So now let's break this paragraph down. As we see in this paragraph here, now we get the full understanding of why they would add extra days to their calendar, which will offset what? They Nundinae letters, okay? For example, they have a superstition that the market day should not start on January the 1st. So therefore, they would probably add an extra day to prevent that from happening to their calendar, okay? Also, they on their market days, you would see that people would come from their countries to come into the city, okay? The market day, which fall on the 1st, the 9th, the 18th, the 27th, okay? Remember, it is you add an 8 to every number. Market day began on day 1, which is letter A. Add 8 to 1, you get market day 9, which is letter A. Add 8 to 9, you get 17, which is letter A. If you add 8 to add 8 to 9, you would get 17. Add 8 to 17, you get 25, and and then you will have to restart over again to figure out, your next market day. But anyway, that's how they would do it. All right. I hope I have not confused you, but it's best to write this out on paper. All right. So on their market day, they will have people to come from their country and come into the city. So they're probably making a lot of money on that day, right? Therefore, if they didn't want certain meetings to take place, such as elections, okay, now they would allow the holders of legal actions for meetings for that, but not for elections on that particular day. Also, in the late Republic, that's talking about a certain time period within the Roman Empire, that they had a superstition that the market day should not fall on January the 1st. Okay, so sometimes they would add an extra day, and the ones that would do that is your Pontiffs, also known as Pontiffs Maximus, would do that to add those extra days to make sure that doesn't happen. So the market day on January the 1st, which was letter A, was considered to be unlucky. So steps was taken to avoid that. Now we're going to read the next paragraph. Because the Nundinae cycle was absolutely fixed on 8 days under the Republic, information about the dates of the markets is one of the most important tools we have for working out the Julian equivalent of a Roman date in the pre-Julian calendar. Now you see why it's so important to study these 3 calendars, because you're going to find a lot of the formats in these calendars will still carry over from one to another. In the early empire, the Roman market day was occasionally changed. Now that was in the early empire. There was occasional changes. The details of this are not clear, but one likely explanation is that it would be moved by one day if one fell on the same day as the festival of Regify Gaium. an event that occur every other Julian leap year. So remember earlier we was talking about that paragraph above when they're dealing with intercalations, okay, how they would add extra day for a market day. Well, here's an example of that. Okay, but let us continue to read. When this happened, the market day will be moved to the next day, which was the bisextile leap day. So that's what it was called. So now let us go back to this tab so we can break that paragraph down. As we can see here, that there was occasional changes with their market days, especially for certain festivals, such as that word here you see in red, and that festival occurred every other Julian leap year. Therefore, when they added a day, so the market day will come after that festival day, that day for that market day was known as bisextile leap day. Okay? Take this time now to pause your screen. I'm going to say this again. Market day moved by one day if on same day as festival of that R word. Okay? So when it's moved, the market day is placed on the next day, and that next day is known as bisextile leap day. Okay? Now let us read the last paragraph. I know you're probably saying, woo, this is some deep stuff. Yeah. The Nundinae cycle was eventually replaced by the modern 7-day week, which came into use in Italy during the early Imperial period, after the Julian calendar had came into effect. So keep in mind, with the Julian calendar, they were still using this 8-day cycle, okay, for the market day. The system of the Nundinae letters was also adapted for the week. See Dominical Letter. For a while, the week and the Nundinae cycle coexist, but by the time the week was officially adopted by Constantine in 321 AD, the Nundinae cycle had fallen out of use. For further information on the week, see week and the days of the week. So now let's break this paragraph down, because now you got some more important information. Now we get into the part why it's so important for us to know this piece of information, because now we get into the core about the history of a continuous week in these heathen calendars, which is very important, because by us knowing this history, it will confirm to us whether or not we have the seventh day. Okay, now let's break this paragraph down. You probably want to get a pencil and paper and definitely write this down. All right, in this paragraph, it identifies some important things. First thing first, you need to be aware of what is early imperial period. Okay, because remember, this change from an 8-day market cycle going to a 7-day cycle did not happen to after the Julian calendar was into effect. Okay, for a period of time. All right, and Italy was the first to use it during the Imperial period. That's something to be very important. That's something to be aware of. Okay. Therefore, if your early Imperial period fell from 100 BC to 1 BC, remember, before Common Era, you count it down. So there was from 100 BC to 1 BC. And I'm going to give you the website link to read more about imperial periods to understand that, because that's one way they use to classify time when it's pertaining to the Roman Empire. Okay. Now, the next thing, what this paragraph was telling us, that dealing with the Nundinae letters, the same system that was used for that will also use for the Dominical letter. Now, Dominical letter is being used today in the Gregorian Calendar, and a record of that can be found in your King James 1611 Bible under the Almanac. Yes, the only difference is that instead of 8 days, you have 7 days, and we're going to talk more about that in more specific details further down. Okay, now I do want to read this last line. It said here, for a while, the week and the Nundinae cycle coexist. So in the Julian calendar, the 8 days, The 8-day cycle week coexists with the 7-day cycle week. Okay, this is why when you go to certain sources, you may have different dates from when what was started, because a lot of times it depends on the country and the ruler, because remember, just because something was started, don't mean everybody was doing the same thing during that particular time. You have to really do further research. Okay, so let me read this line again. For a while, the week and the nundinal cycle coexist. But by the time the week was officially adopted by Constantine in 321 AD, the nundinal cycle had fallen out of use. So by the time Constantine came around to the calendar, they was operating on a 7-day week. Now that's done with Constantine and the countries that he ruled and stuff. Okay, around 321 AD. Now keep in mind what we read in the Encyclopaedia Britannica pertaining to the days of the week, because the beginning day of the week was what? Saturn. And the 7th day of the week was let me look at my little thing to make sure. The 7th day of the week fell on, I'm looking at this right, Friday, which was Venus. Okay. So when Constantine came to the forefront, he made some changes in the days order format. In other words, he put Sunday to the first day, and that therefore they would push Saturday to the 7th day. Okay, when you do more study on that. Okay. But now let us continue to read, because now we're going to get more information about the I'm sorry, I cannot pronounce this word for some reason with my tongue. Dominical letter, okay, which is still being used today in the Gregorian calendar. Well, when you look at the 1611 almanac, okay, and you'll see what I'm talking about. Now, I'm going to take you to this tab so you can see what I'm talking about. In your 1611 Bible, I'm going to blow this up. You have a copy of the almanac for 39 years, which is very important, which is going to give you more understanding with the Roman Catholic Church. Okay? On how they do things now. The Domincal Letter is used to identify Sundays. Kind of like the same way what the Romans did and what Julius Caesar did with the market days. They used a letter to identify the market days. Therefore, in the Gregorian calendar, they also use a letter to identify that as well. So I'm trying to get this to blow up so you can really see it. So those who have a copy of this, for some reason don't want to act right. You will see to the top of this, it said Dominical Letter right here. Now I'm going to have to get my mouse, so hold on. And I do apologize for the noise that you heard in the background. That was a fan, if you heard it. Okay. So you can see this. And this is what I'm talking about. They use a letter to identify Sundays for each year. Okay. Something be very important to know. And now this link will be in the video description box so you can look at this page. But those who have a copy of the 1611, it's in your 1611 Bibles. And it's dealing with the Dominical Letter. And I forgive my tongue. Okay. Now, when you look at the Dominical Letter, It is dealing with the letter to represent when it's Sunday, okay? Now, when you see them having a double letter, what it means is that the first letter represents the Sunday before leap day. That means when their year have 366 days. So the letter before leap day is the letter to represent Sunday. But the second letter represents Sundays after the leap day for the rest of the year. So when you see those double letters, that's what that means. Now, in the Julian calendar, let me get this back where you can see it. I'm sorry. In the Julian calendar, the years is repeated every 28 years. Therefore, in the 365 years, you would have a Domincal letter for each year for three of the common years. And their letters start from A and end with G. Okay. So you got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And excuse the typo, that's supposed to be D. All right. Now in the Julian calendar for their leap year, which is 366, you will have a double Domincal letter. And you would see it as BA, CB, DC, ED, FE, and GF, and AG. And these letters will occur. I'm sorry, you have a total of 7 occurrence of this, okay? Now, for the Gregorian calendar, this will repeat itself every 400 years, and 400 years will make 4 centuries. So take this time now to pause the screen because I'm not going to read that word for word, but just to save some time. But I just want you to understand what is Domincal letter is. Domincal letter is a letter used by the heathens of the Roman Catholic Church to let them know what day is Sunday. If you hear a lot of background noise, that's my husband coming in. Excuse him.
What's up?
Shalom. Now, what I did for you, my brothers and sisters, I put together a chart so you can see the difference between the ancient Roman calendar, the Julian calendar, and the Gregorian calendar in comparison with the Most High calendar. Okay? So when we compare these 4 calendars, let's first look at the dates. Dates is very important. With the ancient Romans, we know that they started their calendar in 753, and as time moved on, they made changes to it. And I need to shut this door. Hold on. So you won't have this background noise. Okay, sorry about that. In the Julian calendar, it started in 45 BC, but as time went on, later on, they made some changes too, from an 8-day cycle to a 7-day cycle, especially by the time when Constantine came to power around 321. That's supposed to be AD, and excuse the error for that. So around 321 AD. With the Gregorian calendar, that wasn't started until 1582, but it took more than 300 years for this calendar to be used worldwide, and that's something very important to know. Okay? But for the Most High calendar, his calendar began since day 1. All right? Day 1 of creation. So when you look at the original date of the heathen calendars, you can see why their calendar is just not lining up, because they don't really have the wisdom and understanding of the Most High. Now, we ought to talk about the inventors of the calendars. So you want to take your time now to pause the screen to get that. All right. I'm trying to see if there's anything I really want to point out. But you can see the difference between the Most High calendar in comparison to man calendar. It is totally different. As Yahuwah said in Isaiah chapter 55, his ways and his thoughts is not like the way our thoughts and ways are. And that's definitely true. When you look at the use, far as looking at the heathens calendars, in the ancient Roman calendar, the Roman use it. In the Julian calendar, the calendar was still being the calendar was being used in the Roman Empire and in some Christian churches. Now, keep in mind, the Hebrew Israelites didn't use this. In other words, Yahushua didn't use this calendar. Okay, keep this in mind now. And when you get to the Gregorian calendar, most of the country was using it because it's fulfilling the prophecy in Daniel's chapter 7. Okay. And the Gregorian calendar is known as the Western or Christian calendar. All right. And when it came to the Most High calendar, you will find that it was the Israelites using his calendars. And when you do further study as well, you will learn that any righteous seed from Adam had the understanding and the knowledge of the Most High calendar, and also had the knowledge and understanding of the heavens. Okay. Now, when you compare the type of calendars they were, the ancient Roman calendar was lunar. That means based on the moon. The Julian calendar and the Gregorian calendar was based on the sun. But when you look at Yahuwah's calendar, it's based on the sun, the moon, and Mazzaroth, also known as solar, lunar, and Mazzaroth. And I want to point this out. The heathens today who are becoming aware of this knowledge only focus on the sun and the moon. They leave off Mazzaroth, which is very important. So remember, Yahuwah's calendar is consistent of the solar, lunar, and Mazzaroth. Now, dealing with accuracy, what it's talking about is that they're talking about the sun's circuit. And if those who observe the heavens are aware that the sun's circuit will be complete in 365.25 days or 366 days. And in the fourth year of the sun, that 0.25 is added in the fourth year. So that's how we got 366. Now, according to man calculations, now the Roman ancient calendar will not apply because it's based on the moon. But when you look at the Julian calendar, it is off by 1 day in 28 years, which is basically 11 minutes per year. When you look at the Gregorian calendar, it's off a day in 3,236 years. Okay. But with the Most High calendar, it is right on the money. It is 100% accurate because we are following the word and we have his wisdom and understanding of the heavens. Okay. When we compare the number of days, all right, in the ancient Roman calendar, in the beginning, they start with 304, but then with the changes, their calendar ended with 354 or 355 days. Now, in the Julian calendar, in their common years, they would have 365 days. And for their leap year, they would have 366 days. Even though it's blank right here, for the Gregorian calendar, they would have the same thing. In their common year, they would have 365 days. And for the leap year, they would have 366 days. However, for the Most High calendar, it's totally different now because the sun year would have 365 or 366 days. And the moon would have 304 or 355 days. Now, when we have an extra day in the sun, you will learn that it does not correspond to the year of the heathens or when they say it is. Okay. Looking at the number of months, the ancient Roman calendar had a beginning of 10 months, but then ended with 12 lunar months. In the Julian calendar, they had 12 months, but their year start from March to February. In the Gregorian calendar, they had 12 months as well, but their year started from January to December. But for the Most High calendar, the sun year has 12 months, and the lunar year, which is the moon, can have 12 months or 13 months. Okay. Now, correction mechanism, what that basically means is, what did they do to get their calendar back in line with the seasons? For the ancient Romans, they would use a intercalary month. That means they would add an extra month. For the Julian calendar, because it's based on the sun, they would add a leap day. And for the Gregorian calendar, because it's based on the sun, they would add a leap day. But for the Most High calendar, let me tell you how the Most High worked. The heavens corrects itself. Yes. For example, in the moon year, we would have a 13th month. Okay. And a 13th moon can be witnessed in the heavens. For the sun, we would have a total of 366 days, as written, that the 0.25 of the 365.25, the 0.25 will not be added into the fourth year. And in that fourth year, you get 366 days. That is the word of the Most High. Okay. Now, here's a note, okay, that you need to be aware. A lot of people are not aware that the Julian calendar has been revised, my people. In other words, they went in, they corrected the formula error, okay? The revised Julian calendar is more than 10 times, is 10 times more accurate than the Gregorian calendar. For this revised Julian calendar is off by 2 seconds per year, or 1 day in 31,250 years. And this revised Julian calendar is used in some Orthodox churches. So as we had learned in the chart above, when we compare to the Gregorian calendar, the revised Julian calendar is way more accurate than the Gregorian calendar. And when we compare the accuracy, we have 2 seconds per year, or 1 day in 31,250 years. But in the Gregorian calendar, you have 1 day in, and that's a typo, I think. There is a typo somewhere. Let me make sure. No, it's not a typo. Okay. What I would do, so you can see where I got this statement from, it comes from Wikipedia. But according to Wikipedia, they were saying that the revised Julian calendar is 10 times more accurate than the Gregorian calendar. And I will put the link of that in the video description box so you can get that proof for yourself. And I do apologize for the error. Now, the prior Julian calendar format is 13 days behind the Gregorian calendar for the year of 1901 to the year of 2099. So the unrevised Julian calendar is 13 days behind the Gregorian calendar that we're using today. Now, for the unrevised Julian calendar, most of the Orthodox denominations observe this format. Okay. Now, I want to bring this to your attention. When you read that article in Wikipedia, you will learn that the reason why the revised Julian calendar is brought back is because, especially with historians and scientists, they are able to align certain historical events to the Julian calendar better than using the Gregorian calendar. Okay. Now, from part one, we learned how. From part one, we are now seeing how Daniel chapter 7, verse 23 to 25 is now being fulfilled right before our eyes. Okay. For in verse 25, we now see how the anti-messiahs has changed times and laws. And the evidence can be found in the ancient Roman calendar, the Julian calendar, and the Gregorian calendar. The proof is there because you will see that it confirms what Daniel was telling us about the fourth beast, which is the fourth kingdom. And this fourth kingdom that we are in is still Rome. Okay. Now the first anti-Messiah or the first anti-word or anti-Torah or anti-covenant person who came on the scene was Antiochus the fourth Epiphanes. And since from him, many has come after him, many anti-messiahs after him. Now we're waiting for the last anti-messiah to come that shall reign for 3.5 years. Now I do want to bring this to your attention. Remember when Antiochus the fourth Epiphanes reigned, he was still under the Roman rule. He had to subject his kingdom under their reign. Okay. Now this is the juicy piece that I know you've been waiting for. Okay. Okay. I know the information book was a little bit boring, but we had to go through it because when you're dealing with the children of Satan and when you're dealing with these Pharisees and Sadducees and Herodians of today, you got to be thorough. And we have to provide the evidence because we know how they are. But here's the proof. Timeanddate.com gives you access of the days they omitted, in what month and what year. So I want to go to this site for proof. So I went here for time and date, and the title of the article was the Gregorian Calendar. Okay? And when I went there, I clicked on 10 days were dropped in October the 15th, in October 1582. Okay? This is why it's so important to have access to their changes, because it's going to bring out the truth and confirm what is the seventh day. Okay? So when I brought up that calendar, guess what happened? As you can see on that calendar for 1582 for October, Thursday was the 4th. And because they had to get rid of 10 days, Friday became the 15th. But here's the problem with this. Now I want you to look at Saturday. Saturday's the 16th, right? Here's the problem with this. I want you to ask yourself, when they omitted the 10 days, are the 10 days a multiple of 7? No. And you're probably going to ask myself, but why is that important? You'll see why. When you look at this calendar here, if they didn't omit those 10 days, then Friday would have been what? The 5th, right? And Saturday would have been what? The 6th, right? And so forth. Because when we count from the number 5 to the number 14, we get what? 10 numbers, right? And if they have not omitted those 10 days, Saturday would have ended on what? The 16th, okay? And the next Saturday would have ended on the 13th. You add 7, right? 7 plus 6, you get 13. Also, in the next month, which is October, let's go there now. The next month, which is November. Sorry about that. Let me finish out October. I'm one step ahead. And the next Saturday would have been October the 20th, okay? Not October the 23rd. And the next Saturday would have been October the 27th, not October the 30th, okay? Big difference. Think about it. They took away 10 days. It's not in the number of 7. And they're telling you that the week is continuous, is a continuous number of 7. A week is. Think about it. Okay? And forgive my phone. All right. Now let's look at November of 1582. For November, Saturday would have fallen on the 3rd, but they got on the 6th, which is 1582. Then it would have fell on the 10th, but they got the 13th. It would have fell on the 17th, but they got the 20th. And it would have fell on the 24th, but they got the 27th. Do you see what's wrong with this picture? Okay. So let me take this time so you can pause the screen. Let me go back to it. Let me go back to the first calendar because I want you to pause your screen where you can write these numbers down and compare. And these links going to be in the video description box so you can go back and do your own research. Okay. And now for November 1582. Okay, I'm going to try to pause the screen first for that so you can get the numbers, what they have down for Saturday. And then you can get what the date should have been. before they took out those 10 days. Again, it's not in multiples of sevens. Okay. So this is what I'm telling you. In conclusion, the ancient Roman Nundinae letter and the Dominical letter give us the history of a continuous week in the calendar we use today. But their continuous week does not date back to the first day of creation, nor to the day of Adam, the sixth day. And forgive my phone. I'm going to try to, there we go. I want to read that to you again so you can really hear what I'm saying. The ancient Roman Nundinal letter and Dominical letter give us the history of a continuous week in the calendar we use today. But that continuous week does not date back to the first day of creation, nor to the day of Adam, the sixth day. Think about it, my people. They don't omitted so many days and added so many days. How do you know which day is the seventh day? These are the heathen calendars. And in their articles, they tell you that these calendars are not perfect and they still had errors. But let us continue to read. In addition, their records do not show the trackings to the original week that was established in Genesis chapter 1. Part 1 video will confirm to you that the ancient Roman calendar, the Julian calendar, and the Gregorian calendar was out of alignment with Genesis chapter 1 verse 14. Therefore, they had too many days or too fewer days, and those days taken away was not in multiple of sevens. So my questions to you, my brothers and sisters, I want you to really think about this. For those who have watched part 1 and now watching part 2. How do you know the seventh day you are keeping is Yahuwah's Sabbath day? Provide the evidence. Prove all things as written in 1 Thessalonians chapter 5, verse 21. And for those who did not watch part 1 and who still proceed to watch part 2, watch part 1 to get back on track, to find out when is Yahuwah's seventh day, the Sabbath. And remember Genesis chapter 1, verse 14. For Yahuwah has given us many clues in his words, many clues to get us back on track to his seventh day, the Sabbath day. So I close out with this, my brothers and sisters. Please do not forget this family. Keep their story alive with Brother Eliasha and his wife, for their children has been taken away from them because they have been falsely accused. Please keep that story alive. That video will be in the description box for you to hear their testimony. Please share this with others and keep them in your prayers. And as for this word, let me go back to the titles. Forgive me. I have to go back to the title. As for this word, my brothers and sisters, for those who have watched part 1 and part 2, you now understand how the seventh day is confirmed. How the seventh day, the Sabbath, is confirmed. The evidence is there. It's in his word. All we have to do is read it. So I'm pleading to you, my brothers and sisters, stop following the heathens' pagan ways. Their whole calendar is paganistic. The days of the week is named after their gods. Their whole calendar is set up after or what their gods told them to do because they worship the heavens. So come out of that. Come out of the ways of Babylon. Be holy and set apart. Come unto Yahuwah. For the word today has confirmed the seventh day, the Sabbath day, part 2. The history of the fourth beast calendar. The history of the fourth beast calendar. For we see we are truly in the Roman Empire. For we have been taught the Roman ways, and they are heathens. They don't follow the Most High, nor do they have the wisdom and understanding of the Most High ways. And it's so much evident in their calendar and in their so-called Christianity. So come out of her, my people. Get back into the word. For Yahuwah had given us his word, as well as the hidden books, to get us back on track, to his ways, and to his holy days, and to his seventh day, the Sabbath. So I close out with this prayer. In the name of Yahushua HaMashiach, I plead the blood of the Lamb upon this video post and the links attached. Father, I pray that your children and your people will receive this word and understand the message and know that the Gentiles, the heathens, omitted so many days in their calendar. For now, through their calendar, we don't know what is the seventh day by using their calendar now. However, you made a way for us to know what is your seventh day. For your word told us what is your seventh day. The answer is there. All we have to do, Father, is to seek you in the name of Yahushua HaMashiach. So that's what I pray for, Father, that your people and your children will seek you and follow Luke 11:9-13. I also pray for Brother Eliash's family to protect them from all danger, harm, and evils. But I pray that your name would be glorified through their time of tribulation. And Father, I pray for our enemies. I pray that whatever they have planned against us, that it fall upon their heads and they fall in their own pits. But I also pray they will repent and turn from their wicked ways. And if anything I have not prayed for in this prayer, Father, I ask that you fulfill it according to your will. In the name of Yahushua HaMashiach, so be it. So my brothers and sisters, share this truth with our brothers and sisters. And make sure you are preaching that the kingdom of heaven is at hand. Make sure the people receive salvation as written in Romans chapter 10 and baptize them in the name of Yahushua HaMashiach. Oh, excuse my husband. That's him making noise. I'm sorry, brothers and sisters. For we know the water baptism has not been put away with. Make sure you read the whole book of Acts and you will see that the apostles did not stop the water baptism. Read past Acts chapter 11 and you will see it. Go past that. Read Acts chapter 12 to, I think it's Acts chapter 26 or 27. Read the rest of that and you will see that the water baptism continued. All right, my family. I love you all and shalom.